Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of MYOG, Make or Modify Your Own Gear. And today we're going to be covering how to make a light diffusing bag. Now, what a light diffusing bag is it's a small bag, like we have here, that can fit over the head of a flashlight or a headlamp and effectively turn that flashlight or headlamp into a lantern. Very useful, very cool. Now, where the idea for this came from is there was two products on the market that I've been eyeballing for a while, and I was thinking about getting one or the other. And the first product was the Montebell Crushable Shade, and they're anywhere from like 16 to 20 bucks depending on where you get them or if they're on sale or not. And then there's the BioLite Light Diffusing Stuff Sack, and that's also between $15 and $20 depending on where you get it. Well, the only problem is I knew I could make one, okay? So I got my sewing machine and everything out. I tried a few different experimentations, and these are what I came up with. So I'm going to show you how I did that, and I'm going to show you how they work. First off, let's get into how they work. I want to apologize. I got a little background noise here. That's the air conditioner. It is really hot today, and I had to turn it on. There's just no way I could have done it without this. How they work is you can take any flashlight or headlamp that you can fit in the hole, and you pull the drawstring tightly around the head of the light where the light's going to come out. Make sure it's fluffed out. When you turn this on, this acts like a little lantern, basically diffusing that light 360. Alright? For a headlamp, it's the same thing. Headlamp is a little easier to do because it'll stand on its own. Put that over the headlamp. Tighten up the drawstring. Fluff this out. Make sure the headlamp is setting level. Kick it on. And there we have a diffusing light. Let me shut off the overhead light here. And as you can see, it acts like a lantern. Now, the cool thing about this is if you're already carrying a headlamp, which you should be, the most versatile light you can carry into the woods, you can turn your headlamp into a lamp like this. You can hang it up by the strap in a tent or over your campsite to diffuse the light. Works very well. As you can see here, we have a cat partially in frame. She decided to come and be a quality control expert, make sure I'm doing everything all right. And as you can see, we can make it different colors. Here I have my old Army L-shaped flashlight, and you simply fit that over the head. Tighten up the drawstring over the head. Poof that guy out and turn it on. Now, that's obviously not as bright as the other ones. I'll kill this light here and this light here so you can see. Nowhere near as bright as the other ones, but still works. Okay. And it will even work with a mag light. This is a 2-cell mag light I've had forever that I put a LED bulb in, and it works really good with this. Just tighten that down over the head, stand the mag light up like a big candle, hit that, and this one's really bright. Look at that. That's so bright that it's affecting the resolution on the camera. Pretty cool. Alright. Later on here tonight, I'm going to take them outside so you can see them outdoors and get an idea of how well they diffuse the light. But now I'm going to jump into how to make one. First step is the pattern. The pattern I'm using for this is just a square pattern. This is what I use. It's a 10 by 10 inch or 25.4 by 25.4 centimeter square. You're going to need 15 inches of cord for the drawstring or 38.1 centimeters. And here I've made this little graphic giving me the steps on how I do it, put it together. And the last step is adding the cord and all that good stuff. So you can go ahead and pause this, read any of that if you want. I'll zoom in. And then I'll see you over here when we get materials. So for materials, we're using a ripstop nylon. I can get this very cheaply at my Joann's fabric store, which is local to me. The cord I'm using, I got this from Paracord Planet a while back. It's reflective cord. The cat, well, I don't know where you're going to get a cat. Yes, Kira. No, you can't have that. No matter how much love you give me, you can't have that cord. That's not yours. Now, to give you an idea on pricing, hey, stop that. I got 2 yards for like $7.99 back when I bought this. So it's not expensive stuff. Obviously, you're going to need thread, a sewing machine. Let me show you some of the other stuff you're going to need to do this MYOG. One of the things that's going to make life so much easier doing this project is an ironing board. I have a small one here, and I have a piece of parchment paper. More on that in a minute. For this type of fabric, your iron should be set like on rayon level for heat, not much higher. Otherwise, you could end up melting the ripstop fabric. Ask me how I know. But take your fabric, if it's got any creases or anything in it, put it on the ironing board, put the parchment paper over that, just iron it out, get any creases or anything out of it. It makes sewing it so much easier, at least for me. And you'll end up with a nice flat piece. Plus, there's a step to using this iron here in a minute. I'll show it to you. So one of the things I use, because I suck with needles, I can never seem to get my fabric to stay where it needs to be with needles, is I started using this Heat and Bond Light. And this goes on with an iron, and it allows you to temporarily stick 2 pieces of fabric together where you want to sew it. And it will basically, they say it's permanent, but I don't really see it as permanent. And if it's in the seam that you're sewing, you're really not going to see it. So that's what I end up using. So we have our pattern, we have our material. Now you can just cut this out with a pair of scissors. But what I found works for me is I use a soldering iron to cut this fabric. It seals the edges so there's no fraying like we have here over time. I usually keep a small piece of paper towel here off to the side to wipe off the soldering iron as I go. And I actually use this template, which is a very thin cardboard, as a guide. So this soldering iron's hot. Let's see if we can cut this out. We just go along. Just don't burn yourself, okay? Now I'm on top of a old mirror here. A piece of old window glass or even a piece of metal would work fine. You just don't want to do this over a piece of wood. I like using glass because I can kind of see down there when I've done a pass and if it's gone through or not. If I need to go over a spot a second time. one more cut to do, and I'll go down through here. And I think that's it. I just want to cut the rest of this fabric off because that's basically waste, and that's basically waste. Just like that. You flip this over and you'll be able to peel this fabric, if I can get a hold of it, right off. And there's our fabric ready for the next step. We have our fabric, it's ironed out, we're ready for the next step. Now the next step is we are going to take our heat bond light and we're going to cut some pieces out of there. Now, the piece we're going for is this little triangle. And it's 2 inches by 2 inches, or 5.08 centimeters by 5.08 centimeters. So what I generally do is I cut a 2-inch strip, and then I cut 2-inch blocks out of it, and then I just cut them, and we have our 2 pieces. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to iron those on. Just pick 2 corners opposite of each other. Doesn't matter which, because this is a square. And I'll bring you back for that. Now, how I end up doing these is I get this perfectly on the corner where I want it, and I get it started, and it's that easy as long as your iron's hot at either side. Throw my parchment paper over this and make sure it's fused down really good. And I can tell that that's on there. That's good. Now we're going to go ahead and do this other side. Get it lined up exactly where you want it. Hit the corners. There we go. It's not going to go anywhere. Now we really want to fuse that on. Okay. Now when you're doing this, if you see it's moved a little bit off, like it has here, don't worry about that. That's not as big of a deal as you think it is. Now we want to peel this. And when you peel this, you will see this whole shiny area. That's the bonded stuff. So we want to go right here, and we want to fold it in as perfectly as we possibly can. And that's why I kind of like this ripstop stuff, because I can use these lines as long as you cut it correctly. It's kind of a guide. So I think right about there. Yep. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hit this side, but I'm going to stay away from where I overlapped there because I don't want that stuff sticking to my iron. Put the parchment on. Fuse it. And there you go. That is bonded right on there. And then we repeat it with that. We have our piece with our folded corners. Now what we want to do is we want to stitch this corner all the way down. Generally, just put it in the sewing machine, line up where your needle's going to go. I want to get as close to the edge as I possibly can. Run a few stitches, reverse it, and then finish the stitch. Take it all the way to the edge, rotate, and then reverse when you get toward the end. And this is what you'll end up with. It's all stitched out where it needs to be. We got some threads here. Generally what I do is I cut them short and I melt them down to the edges. So we want to run a 1/4 inch or 6mm strip right along the top here. Here's our strip. Line it up. Get it where we want it. Get it started. And then what I generally do is I try to get it as straight as possible. Hit it in a few spots for it to hold. When we get to the end here, snip off the excess, do our parchment paper thing again. It looks like it's fused on there pretty good. Peel it. Now what we want to do is we want to fold this over, and that is our 1/4 inch or 6mm hem. And generally what I do is I'll pick a side, doesn't matter which side to do first. Get it started. I'll go to the other side. Do it. Throw the parchment paper on. Get the whole thing where I want it. And now it's fused down. So we have this 1/4 inch hemmed. So we want to take another piece, 1/4 inch or 6mm, and we want to go over this hem. Right like that. I'm going to get it started right here. And all the way over. This is one of those things where sometimes you feel like you need 3 hands. There. Okay. Then we want to snip off the excess. So cut that off right there. Come up with our parchment paper, put that on, peel the backing. Alright, now it gets interesting. Now we're going to fold this over and try to even this up with our corner pieces here. Let me zoom in, give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So we had this corner piece we did earlier. I want to fold this whole thing over to where it's even, like this, with the bottom of that corner on each side. And then I want to affix it with the iron in place. Okay, I got both sides. And zoom out. Now we're going to come in here with our parchment paper and we're going to fix it all down. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to stitch this. I'm going to run at least 2 rows of stitching across here. You could do 3. 2 to 3 is common for outdoors. So I have 2 lines of stitches, and I literally go from the edge of the material all the way across here, and that's done up, and that creates our channel for our closure for the bag. So we're going to do 6mm or 1/4 inch on the sides here, fold that over and adhere it, and then we're going to do the same on this side, and the very last we're going to do the bottom and fold that over, and that's going to create a hem all the way around. So we got all of these folded in and done and ironed down so they're bonded. Alright, now if you notice, everything is folded in on one side. Now what we want to do is flip this over, and we want to put heat and bond here to the middle. Fold this over to where the folded sides here are out, bond this together, and then stitch it together here at least 2 times. What we end up with is this. You can see we have 2 lines of stitching going from here all the way up the sides. Now we can turn this inside out and there is the bag. Final thing we want to do is we want to run our cord through the tube here. So you cut whatever cord you want to use with the bag, 15 inches or 38.1 centimeters. This is just a piece of wire folded over. I just put a little piece of doweling on there as a handle. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to feed this wire into this channel, and as it gets up here where it starts looping around, I just give it a gentle bend, and I want that wire to come back out the other side, just like that. Stick our cord in between the wire here, just like that, and we pull it back through, and then unhook the wire. Trust me, it's a lot easier when you're not doing this in front of a camera. Just like that. Once you have the cord in, you can add a cord lock. You don't have to use a cord lock. You could use knots for this part. To me, a cord lock is just more convenient. And then I'm just going to do a simple overhand knot. Keep the cord out, lock from coming off. That is if I can do it in front of a camera, since I'm all thumbs today. Okay. So there is our completed bag. Now, we can use this as a lantern, but we can also use this for other purposes. Keeping small items in your pack from, banging around all over in the pack, put them in this bag. Okay, it's a bag. It has so many other uses. Another thing you could do with this, you could put some stones in it, or maybe you have something in your pack you could put in it to give it some weight, close it up, tie a line to it, and you could throw that over a limb to put your food up in the tree in the PCT style if you're in bear country. That's another thing you can do with it. I mean, the utility of a small bag like this, there's a lot of things you can do besides its intended purpose that we built it for. But let's go outside here. It's getting dark now, and I'll show you what kind of area this covers outside. Okay, we're in the back here on my patio blocks, and I have my headlamp on the white diffuser bag. I'm going to step around here and turn it on. But before I do that, each of these patio blocks is 12 inches by 12 inches or 30.5 centimeters by 30.5 centimeters. So when you see the light spread out, you'll get an idea of kind of the coverage. So let's do that. Now this is on low, and it's throwing, this is on my Sofran headlamp, by the way, and it's throwing light. This is in the middle of one block, 1, 2, 3 blocks, easy, in a big arc, and that's on low. Medium, it's even brighter. I'm going to say 5.5 blocks. And when I go on high, we've easily got 6.5, almost 7 blocks in an arc all the way around. So that works pretty good, I will say. And it just turns the headlamp into a lantern. Works very well. Now you could hang this up, and now it's, you know, an area light, whatever. I think that works really well. So now we have the red bag on here, and it's throwing light from the center of this block about 2 blocks out. Not too bad on low. Now why would you want to use red light? Well, maybe to preserve your night vision. Maybe you don't want to use white light and announce your presence in an area. You might be stealth camping. You know, there's lots of reasons. Medium, oh yeah, we got definitely more throw. Out to about 4 blocks. High, oh yeah, that ain't no joke. We're going out to about 6 blocks. And that's that red light. Now, you get this situated right, and you'll get decent setup. With it hanging, it isn't bad at all. Because my lamp's a little cockeyed, I have a hot spot. So I'm going to try to even that out. That's a little bit better, but not by much. But you get the idea. Well, you got to see them being used, you got to see them being made. Now you need to decide if you need to make one for yourself. I got my quality control experts, James and Kira, here. They decided to overlook what I'm doing. Alternately, you could use something like the shot cord, which would make it easy to create a smaller, you know, diameter hole like this, and then fit it over the end of a flashlight and it snugs down. This you really need sometimes 2, and it almost feels like 3 hands to get this all adjusted. So you might want to consider a shot cord instead. Another thing I really like about these is I can roll them up and make it really small if I'm not using the bag at all. And basically how you do that is you fold over. Yes, James, we all hear you. You fold over about 3/4 of an inch and keep doing that all the way up. That's a little bit more than 1.5 centimeters until you get to the top. You see what we have here. Then fold this side 1/3 over, roughly, and this side 1/3 over. Then you can take this cord, you can work it over this guy like this, and pull it taut. And this creates a super small package that'll go in your pack, your pocket, whatever. And then when you need it, you just unpack it. Yes, Kira. Yes. You just unpack it, and you're good to go. And this stuff's pretty resilient. I made a small bag like this almost 10 years ago. I still have it. I just used it to hold like my charging cable and a few necessities that I would take with me into the woods in my pack so the stuff didn't get lost. and that bag has held up surprisingly well. This material is surprisingly strong. So make it, don't make it, that's up to you. James is left, it's just me and Kira. So why don't you all have a wonderful night, and thank you for watching.